live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and blasttheradio.com. This is the Lowell Green Show. The number to call and be heard around the world is 613-413-2217. Or email Lowell at blasttheradio.com. And now, here is Lowell Green.
Open house today. You know what? I think in about a year we've been doing this program, John. I've never opened by saying we have an open house. Used to do it all the time.
No one. I've even got the Happy Boys song here for you if you need it.
Folks, anything you would like to raise. We as I say, for almost a solid year now, I have been suggesting the topics. But there's always a situation where there's something else that's concerning you, interesting you, and I'd be very glad to hear from you. John, explain once again how people get in touch with us.
All right. There's a lot of ways to get in touch. Listen, we mostly appreciate this is a call-in show. Let's just call a spade. And so we invite your calls, 613-413-2217. Barring that, you can certainly text. We are streaming on Facebook. We are streaming on Twitch. We are streaming on YouTube. We are streaming on Twitter. Wherever you would ordinarily post your comments, if you post them, I can pop them up on the screen, and I will try and read as many of them to Lowell as I can. And just so you know, if I don't get a chance to read yours, I do package every single comment up, and I do send them to Lowell on a regular basis for him.
And I read them all.
Yes, you do.
Sometimes I wish I hadn't, but I do.
I get that.
By the way, if you're a jerk, and I think you know what I mean by that, you're more than welcome to call, okay? Jerks are us here sometimes. There's some people who think that they're really a smart ass. They can get through and they're going to get the host, okay? They're going to got nothing else to do. You know, they're out of jigsaw puzzles. They can't play bingo anymore. I think it gets a little boring down in Mama's basement there, so they decide, let's really bug the open. So you can go ahead and bug me. You know what? It just gives me an excuse to really, really shut you down. Go ahead, John.
We've got a call already. I haven't even screened it. Can I get your name, please?
Yeah, hi. It's Paul from Canada.
Paul from Canada. You are on with Lowell Green. Go ahead. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hi, Lowell.
Yes, sir.
I enjoy your show. Actually, the comment I have is it may be a little bit flaky, but I was watching an interview with Dominic LeBlanc earlier this week.
Yeah.
And he's
you like torture. You like torture, do you?
Yeah. Well, you know what got me is he was asked about, like, basically, I think he was talking about this Liberal NDP alliance, but what he said was, we've seen a lot of vandalism in the House of Commons. And I thought he's referring to the criticism from the opposition parties, which is probably mostly the Conservatives. But I thought there's something odd here when this group of people, like sort of Trudeau's inner circle, start using terminology that's not really what the English language is. Vandalism is a rock through a window. Being criticized is part of being in the House of Commons and standing up for what you believe. And I just feel this group has their own speak. The way they talk, they'll label things as terrorism, label something as vandalism. And I think the scary part with this is, in my opinion, again, is this is really serving to do one thing, and that's shut down any conversation or discussion about what's going on.
Very true. You're absolutely right, sir. You're absolutely right. I hadn't heard that phrase before, vandalism. Although I've been watching, I like to really torture myself, and I watch CBC once in a while. And increasingly what I'm hearing about the coalition is, well, now finally, the Liberals will be able to get through some of these things that have been held up by the Conservatives. Excuse me, this is the job of the opposition. All opposition is to hold the feet of the government to the fire, to oppose, to question. And tragically, if you listen to any sessions, question period in particular, you never do get an answer. But it's the job of the Conservatives to try and get some answers. But so they're calling it vandalism now, eh?
I couldn't even believe that. And the other one was when Trudeau was next to Boris Johnson, they had a news conference. This was probably about 3 weeks ago, and some of the international press was there. And Trudeau was a complete embarrassment. They asked him a question about, are you going to increase military spending to 2%? And he went on his memorized little snippet about we're standing strong with Ukraine.
Shoulder to shoulder.
Like, yeah, and not an answer. What gets me, Lowell, is if you've got ideas, fly them up the flagpole and see if anybody salutes. And you can expect some people are going to think it's a horrible idea, but at least be prepared to defend and come out and say what you're doing instead of hiding and throwing names and stuff. Eh? Yeah.
Thanks for the call. Anytime, Paul. Good call, sir. Yeah, I thank you very much.
Thanks, Lowell.
By the way, that's one of my topics that I was throwing out this morning. What do you think of the treatment that our beloved Prime Minister is getting in Europe? Several of the European leaders have really dressed him down. I use the Liberals' favorite phrase, dressed him down. They really dressed him down pretty good. But you know what I was thinking? This is the way that he is being treated. Very clearly, there are a lot of European leaders who have no respect for this guy at all. And some of them, I was really surprised that in 2 or 3 cases, they were not afraid to say it publicly. They really, really went at him. And in particular, a German MP, she really went at him. But, you know, I was thinking how different the treatment this guy is getting than from the respect that Stephen Harper used to receive on the international stage. So you may have some thoughts about that. What do you think? I know I keep coming back to this, but it is so glaring that I have to. Here is Natural Resources Minister Jonathan Williamson claiming he's going to help Europe solve its energy problem. They're going to increase, he says, in Canada, oil production by 300,000 barrels a day. And somehow this is going to help Europe. What a freaking liar this guy is. No, but I'm watching CBC last night, a panel of 3 people there, and nobody has the guts or maybe the brains to point out you can increase production all you want, but if you can't get it to Europe, then what avail is it? The only one of the commentators said he sort of made a very vague reference to no pipelines, and he said, you know, what we would have to do is ship it down to the United States. So what Williamson doesn't tell you is we're going to increase production by 300,000 barrels a day. Now, mind you, if we could ship that to our own country, we could burn it in this country rather than burn Saudi Arabian. But anyway, so what I guess he's proposing is that they'll take this extra production, they'll ship it all the way down via pipeline right down to Texas. Nice little trip by pipeline to Texas to the refinery there. Then the refinery there will refine it and ship it over to Europe. Of course, that's not going to happen. The United States is screaming bloody murder for oil. If we ship another 300,000 barrels a day, guess where it's going to end up, folks? It's going to end up in the United States at greatly discounted prices. But would Williamson or Trudeau tell you that? No. Would the CBC tell you that? Would CCD tell you that? You can produce all you want, folks, but if you can't get it to market, I mean, you know, you could go out and dig all the rock you want, leave it in the field. But if you don't have a truck to bring it someplace, then it's in the field. You may have some thoughts on that. Now, I know this is likely to be misinterpreted, but I have to ask the question anyway. It's my job. Can anybody explain to me why we need a multi-million-dollar monument to gays, transgendered, etc., the rainbow community? Look, I don't know. I mean, almost everybody today approves gay marriage. Most gays simply say they want to integrate they want to be treated equally, which I support. We're all God's children. But I just don't understand if they want to be treated equally. I just don't understand why we need a monument. I mean, this is the way God made it. If you're gay or whatever it is, that's the way God made you. God made me with blonde hair and blue eyes. Do I get a monument? It just makes no sense to me. You may have some thoughts on this. It seems to me that there may be some better ways we could spend $8 or $10 million. I don't know about you. I know what's going to happen on that one, John. Anybody, any ideas? I'm really interested to see that an increasing number of people, including a lot of generals and retired generals and military experts, are saying, you know what? The time has come to call Putin's bluff. We're standing back. We're letting Putin do whatever he wants, reduce, a democratic country to dust. We're doing very little. We're supplying a few arms. Canada's providing almost nothing. And because Putin has sort of indicated that he's got nuclear weapons. Every time I hear that phrase, he's got nuclear weapons, I remember what Donald Trump once said. I forget the circumstances, but he is debating not necessarily with Putin, but towards Putin. And Putin has said something to Trump about, well, he's got the button, the nuclear weapon button. And Trump leaned in and said, but my button is bigger. And I thought, hey, I don't agree with a lot of things that Trump said, but he was dead on there. And I mean, we've got 30 Western industrialized nations, all armed, except Canada. We're not really armed anymore. We play pickleball in this country, but we're really good at pickleball. No, we are.
That's my favorite line from you ever, right there. I love it.
But aside from that, there are 29 nations that are well armed. And it just seems to me, I couldn't agree with the experts anymore that, you know what, time to call his bluff. At the very least, if you don't want to declare a no-fly zone, if you don't want to be tackling Russian jets in the air, at the very least, send Ukraine sufficient jets so that they can tackle him in the air. I don't understand the hesitancy. I mean, we have these 30 nations, including Canada. There's Trudeau, with his hair and his smile and his false eyebrows. And we stand shoulder to shoulder. He does not. I mean, what have we sent? I don't know. Almost everything that we have sent Ukraine is what, Second World War vintage. As I've said before, we've got 83 tanks in this country. That's all, 83 tanks. They're 40 years old. No, 45 years old. Our jets are 40 years old. Our frigate that we sent over there is 30 years old. Hey, please keep in mind, tanks, planes, frigates, all built before the age of computers. Now, I hope that they've been sort of, brought up to standards a little bit with computer, but just think of that. In fact, tanks, frigates, airplanes, built probably before most of the pilots and the captains were born. But that's what we've, and along with gas masks. By the way, the gas masks we sent, Second World War vintage, 70 years old. So anyway, it just seems to me that here we've got these NATO nations standing idly by while another, and a great nation of great people, democratic nation, doing everything it's supposed to do, is getting reduced to dust. Call his bluff. You may have some thoughts on that. Anything else that you want to talk about? And I just simply want to point out we're now over a month now, and we still have not allowed a single refugee into this country from Ukraine. I see 3 more children with cancer arrived at the Sick Children's Hospital in Toronto. This is all arranged by a private group. The government of Canada has not allowed a single Ukrainian refugee into this country after a month. Now, I tried to get some figures. How many people have entered through Roxham Road in that month? The best figures I've got are somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 undocumented people from the United States have walked freely across our borders, received all of the benefits of Canadian citizen, save the right to vote, health care, accommodation, everything else, while we have not allowed a single Ukrainian refugee. But our beloved Prime Minister says we stand shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine. Not in my books. How about yours? John, any response so far?
Oh, my God, Lowell, you're killing me with all your chatter here. You're getting in the way of all the comments. My goodness. Okay, Diversity in the Capital. This is an organization. This is an online, in fact, they do shows here on BTR, very loud and proud about the LGBTQ+2 community. He says, the monument is it aims to honor those harmed by the LGBT purge, homophobic and transphobic laws and social norms in Canada's colonial history. So there you go. So that's it. Most people are saying, yeah, that's a nice to have, a monument right now. And a couple of other people also said, where's Lowell's monument? He needs a monument as well. So that's by and large the comments there. Lowell, do you remember Wear Red Friday? Asks Lynn, since it's
Of
open
course,
house,
I
kind
was.
of bouncing
I
around.
was. Of course, I was one of those that sponsored that. And in fact, I hosted a giant rally of almost 100,000 people on Parliament Hill for Wear Red Fridays. Go ahead.
Let's go to Tina Marie. She's on Twitch. She says, let's talk about the frustration for affordable housing. My son cannot move out on his own because the rents are so high.
Yeah, I don't know what can be done about this, but I mean, as long as we have Trudeau, I mean, his answer to everything is just print more money, and the more money you print, the less the money is worth, so the more you have to charge. By the way, he apparently is still going to go ahead with the additional carbon tax. Another 7 or 8 days, 1st of April. But I agree. It's very difficult to buy or even to rent today. There's no question about it. The answer, I'll tell you what the answer is. Get that son of a bitch of Trudeau out of there. That's the answer. But people still love the guy, except in Europe. They're not so crazy there.
They really aren't. Oh, man. Linda says house prices to buy and rent are past the point of ridiculous. My concern is how many of the people will lose their houses to the banks. There you go. Question from James in Canada. James says, Lowell, can you do bouquets on Fridays? I used to love that back in the day.
Well, why don't you do one? Don't leave it all up to me. See, that's the Canadian way. Yeah, I think we should. I think you should. Well, if you have a bouquet, let's throw it. I'd be glad to throw a bouquet. Where would you like to throw one? Go ahead, please.
And says $27 million to Canadian Tire for charging stations.
$12 million to Loblaws for freezers. I mean, you wonder, folks, if you wonder why rents are so high, if you wonder why the cost of living is so high, just think of that. I mean, all of the government money that's been thrown out, billions and billions and billions. Go ahead, John.
We got a lot of comments coming in today, folks. Thank you so much. Please give this show a share on your social media timeline. That's all we ask. Please share so people know that Lowell is still doing his thing.
Absolutely. I'm going to throw a bouquet, a big bouquet, and a hug to everybody that shares. You're my hero. Go ahead.
And I'll have sound effects for next week. In the meantime, bling,
Okay.
bling, bling. There's the bouquet. Let's go to text 613-413-2217. Conservatives should announce a 30-year plan or however long is necessary to eliminate national debt. As you have pointed out, imagine if we didn't have to pay $1 billion in interest each month. It might win votes with younger Canadians. Show long-range thinking. That is a comment from Mort.
That's a very interesting point. By the way, Pierre Poilievre talking about long-range plans. Pierre Poilievre has just stated, part of his platform, that he will stop buying all foreign oil within 5 years if he's elected. That's it, he says. No more dirty oil from dirty dictators. 5 years, he will completely end it. Good for him.
Laurentian View Terry is on Twitch. He would like to give a bouquet to Shields for being a great business. Well done.
Okay. Okay. All right. Talking about Shields. Let me give a bouquet. Yeah, we got a lot of people who thank me for talking about Shields. They'd never heard of Shields before. Most people in the Valley know them. They've been doing business there for many years. But a lot of other people, a lot of new customers have gone and said, you know what, Lowell, you're right. One of the things that people seem to really be appreciating is the fact that there's no long wait. Almost everything that they want in the way of appliances is right there, delivered to your home probably within the next 3 or 4 days at most. Unlike many of the big box stores where, you got to get an order in and you may be lucky if you get it in a month. So Shields has got it there. They'll have it in your home. Almost guarantee. I can't guarantee 100%. You never know, but probably within 2-3 days, certainly within the week. Prices, as I've mentioned before, very, very competitive. Good people, local people, same family since 1947. Imagine that. Not many businesses have been in the same family for that length of time. Shields has. Go ahead, John. Thank you.
Peter says Shields have a great website. Impressive. There you go. All right, here's a text at 613-413-2217 from Sean. Shout out to Lowell from Porto, Mexico. You sure don't age a bit and still look great. I got my bows on and Lowell on. They think I'm famous because I told some lies about how I know you as a celebrity. And wow, look at that. They just bought me a drink.
Okay, good.
Don says our only hope is to get rid of Trudeau, please.
And by the way, I just want to tell our friend in Mexico, don't drink the water. Go ahead.
Yes. Donald asks, how can we get rid of Justin Trudeau? That's his.
Well, you vote him out. Vote him out. There's nothing now. I mean, he and Jagmeet baby have teamed up. They got this nice little coalition, so they're going to shaft us for the next 3 years. Hopefully, at the end of 3 years, we'll be finally sick and tired. And all of you women out there who think he's really cute, maybe by that time you won't think he's so cute. Go ahead, John.
Janet has a suggestion. Why don't we just use the planes from the War Museum? Might as well, she says. Craig says, I saw Pierre give that speech.
Not a bad idea. The silver dart. Let's
Terry's on and on and on. He'd like to revive the Avro era. I think we all would like to see the Avro.
Let's bring McCurdy back to life, and he can fly the silver arrow over there.
There you go. Craig says, I saw Pierre give that speech.
Silver dart. Sorry. Go ahead.
We're talking over each other. Well, Craig says, I saw Pierre give that speech in St. John. It was fantastic to see a potential conservative leader speak with such clarity. Let me see. This platform is terrific. You have given us all a chance to interact with you. Love it, boys. Joshua says, does Lowell have a story about the worst caller he ever has had to deal with in his career? Oh, boy.
Too many to count, believe me. Actually, can I tell you something? The calls that I enjoy the most are the idiots, the jackasses, because I love sparring with them. And you know what? If you're finished a program and you're out on the street or whatever it is, you know the call that people will refer to always as the idiot call.
Absolutely.
We had a guy up in Pembroke. I forget his name. Some of you people will remember. And he would come up, and he was deadly serious with these crazy fantasies. He believed that there were contrails, that the jets that are overhead, with contrails, that they're spreading chemicals over us. I would always ask him, so they got what are the chemicals? Well, they're affecting your brain. Well, I said, what about your brain then? Oh, no, his brain is just fine. But so I accused him, of course, of wearing tinfoil caps. But anyway, it was always fun.
Nancy's on Facebook. She says, JT is cute if you're blind. Betty's Chips is open in Brayside today, says Ray.
Oh, great. Betty's Chips. Way to go.
George in Arnprior, says Ann.
George in Arnprior. I wonder if he's still around.
Pearl,
you know what? One of my favorite callers was Pearl in Arnprior. I have to tell you. Excuse me. Pearl used to call me, and she hated Trudeau. She hated Trudeau 1. She hated Trudeau 2. And I would always kid her about Trudeau, and she would go crazy. Anyway, this is a number of years ago. I'm speaking to a group, I think in Prescott, big conservative rally there, and I'm the speaker. And who is in the audience but Pearl from Arnprior? Let me tell you. I said, I'd like you to meet favorite caller of mine, Pearl from Arnprior. She got a bigger hand than I did. So
sure.
Pearl from Arnprior.
I'd love to hear from Irish Tom. Do you think Irish Tom's still around?
I don't know. He hasn't clued onto this program yet.
Maybe he doesn't. See, this is why we need you sharing the show so people know that Lowell's on the internet.
Irish Tom's favorite expression was, liberalism is a disease.
There's Sean saying, whatever happened to Irish Tom. There you go. Chrissy says, comments on the announcement today for the money given to the Ottawa Hospital Civics expansion.
Yes, I didn't. How much money was pledged? Another 10 million, I think.
No, I think it was like 21 million from the city.
Oh, okay. Matched by the province. Okay.
Yep. Shirley was a repeat caller. Very smart lady, says Lynn. Wes's Chips opens April 4th, says Nancy. Whatever happened to Anne? That caller was something else, says Janet. I've heard Irish Tom and George.
That was, sorry. No, just a minute. That was Anne from Cornwall. She was an avowed socialist, and she used to call, and she called me the most dangerous man in Canada, which I absolutely loved. Anyway, I'm in Cornwall for a book signing, and there was a huge crowd. There were 300-400 people there for me to sign their books. They're all lined up around the mall, and almost everybody would say, "Have you seen Anne today? Is Anne here?" And it was she was famous in Cornwall. Anne from Cornwall. By the way, as an illustration of how sometimes small business people aren't too bright, I had a book come out the next year, and I wanted to do a book signing in Cornwall again. The mall association said no because the crowds last year they felt had harmed the business. So they wouldn't let me in. I brought it was at least 300, 350 people who probably
Jeez.
never been in the mall before, but they wouldn't let me next year because the crowds they felt hurt business. Go ahead.
That happened to me. Well, not me once, but I was the MC when the Backstreet Boys were at the Rito Center. They were anticipating about 300 kids showing up, and they had about 5,000. And it was up to me to get up in front of everybody and say, "Sorry, it's a security risk. Your beloved Backstreet Boys aren't coming out. The jewelry store is terrified of you."
What happened? They throw beer bottles at you?
They arranged something in the Congress Center so that a few fans could get, the pictures taken.
Everybody
Anyway.
would be all toked up anyway.
No.
Oh, come on.
We're talking 12 and 13-year-old girls
You
here.
can't
Come on.
you can't go to a concert without toking up. Let's be
Yes,
honest.
you can. Irish
Well-
Tom apparently still calls TSN 1200. Sean was asking if Ann ever did get her autograph. Let me see.
She never showed up. Anne never showed up.
She never showed up. All right.
No.
You're the most dangerous man in Canada if you're a liberal, says Craig. There you go. Let's go to text, 613-413-2217. This is fun. I got a lot of balls in the air here, but I'm enjoying it. I don't understand why sanctions are applied incrementally against Russia. Sanctions number 1 to 26 weren't effective, so now we're applying sanction number 27. Sounds like they are not being very serious.
It's very true. I mean, here we are a month into it. Thousands of people slaughtered there, cities destroyed, and they're ramping up the sanctions. Oh, God. I mean, we never seem to learn. It reminds me of Neville Chamberlain coming back meeting with Hitler, and he's waving this piece of paper that's got Hitler's signature on it, and he's saying, "Peace in our time, peace in our time." About 3 days later, Hitler invaded Poland. Go ahead.
Apparently, according to Ray, the Cornwall Mall has 18 empty stores currently, so there's plenty of room for you now, Lowell.
Oh, God.
All right.
I couldn't believe that. Go ahead.
Fun Friday show, Lowell. Awesome, says Chrissy. Ann says, I always hated that. I had the same name as Ann from Cornwall. I loved when Brian Lilly called me the same Ann as opposed to the other one when he had his evening talk show. Shane says, gas is up this week. Carbon tax will put prices closer to $2 a liter. And
yes, probably.
Yep.
And you know what? They're going to go beyond that. I predict that within a year, we're looking at gas somewhere between $2.50 and $2.60 a liter. Go ahead.
And we make it right over there. Drives me nuts. All right, let's go to email. Lowell at blasttheradio.com. This is from Gilles. He says, is the Canadian media unbiased? If a conservative was to denounce the PM like that of Germany's Christine Anderson, it would be a huge story, but it happened in Europe and not a peep.
Have you seen any coverage yet? The Sun has a bit of the story. By the way, talking about bias, I mentioned this yesterday, how you never see a conservative on any of the panel shows with CTV or CBC. And it just suddenly dawned on me. They've always got the Toronto Star is always on. I mean, this is a liberal rag. The Globe and Mail, almost a liberal rag. And always some young person, usually a female, with some association, and probably as far left as you can go. I cannot recall ever on CBC or CTV anybody from the Sun. The Sun change, which is today the only conservative voice other than Lowell Greens in the country. The Sun is never represented. Toronto Star for sure every time. Globe and Mail for sure. The Sun, no. And yet I'm going to tell you right now that in Toronto, the Toronto Sun has almost as many readers as the Toronto Star, but they're conservative, and that's it. They don't count. We don't count. Go ahead, John.
Mainstream media claims they are not biased, says Shane. Speaking of the CBC, Brian says, did you notice the CBC News did not even mention how the Prime Minister was roasted yesterday? Looks good on him, though.
No, yep. CBC didn't mention it at all.
Tina would like to bring up, how is it that Ryan Reynolds, an actor, is able to donate $500,000 to get clean drinking water to our reserves, yet our own government is lagging?
Well, in all probability, because Trudeau and his bobbleheads up there can't quite find the reserves. Go ahead.
Only a devil keeps upping the cost of heating your place so you don't freeze to death. Anyone recognize Trudeau? We need to have some anti-Trudeau T-shirts made. That's another comment from yet another Ann. I don't think that's...
See, here we go again, though, okay? If you think some should be made, make them. But this is one of the problems we have in this country. Everybody say, well, we should do this, we should do that. But somebody's got to start it. Maybe you. Go ahead.
Hi, Lowell. Sounds like you had time to view MEPs talk down Trudeau. I watched this one video that had 4 of them insulting him. It was awesome seeing this. Then I was disheartened to hear Rob Snow dismiss them as off-the-cuff leaders. A text at 613-413-2217. Coraline says, I'm glad people finally see Trudeau for who he is. Dawn says, my daughter and son-in-law are living in my basement. With prices of homes, they will never be able to afford to buy one. The government needs to do something. Here you go.
Well, I mean, what can the government do? I mean, the government has already done it. They've devalued our dollar, and they're going to continue. Listen, we now have a coalition, an extreme left-wing coalition. Already Trudeau and his government was very left-wing. Now they've hooked up with the NDP, which is even further. I mean, the NDP is radical left-wing. So we essentially in this country, I'll tell you right now, we have a socialist, an absolute socialist government that is going to spend billions of dollars more, is going to kill or cripple the oil and gas and mining industries. They're going to run up debt, and they're going to destroy means to pay for it. That's what we have today. But what the hell do I know? Thank you all, folks. Have a good weekend. We'll be back.
The Lowell Green Show is seen and heard live around the world at 2 p.m. Eastern. Connect with us online at blasttheradio.com/Lowell Green. Can't join us live? Download the Lowell Green Podcast. Available on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Ask your smart speaker to play the Lowell Green Podcast. This is a production of blasttheradio.com.